I still remember walking into a living room the other day and seeing it again, like déjà vu, only louder. There's this teenager, sprawled on the carpet, earbuds in, thumbs flying over a phone like it's a piano. The TV's on, a tablet glows in the corner, and somehow the dog is sitting there, completely ignored. I couldn't help but chuckle and wince at the sheer focus on glowing rectangles. It's not just in that house, it's everywhere. Screens have become little black holes, swallowing attention, conversation, even patience. And parents, we're stuck somewhere between wanting to respect independence and fearing we've handed over our kids' brains to the digital gods. Sleep deprivation, anxiety spikes, mood swings, social awkwardness. The list goes on, and it's all tied to those tiny rectangles in their hands. But here's the kicker. This isn't about banning technology or sending them off to live in a cave. It's about understanding why screens are so irresistible and how, with a little savvy strategy, we can guide our kids toward balance without turning into the dreaded tech tyrant. By the end of this video, you'll see what's really going on behind those glowing screens, why it matters, and how to reclaim attention, sleep, and maybe even a little family peace without losing your sanity in the process. I've watched it unfold in homes for decades, and the pattern never changes. You tell a teen, 5 more minutes, then homework, and suddenly 3 hours have vanished into a digital abyss. Take Liam, a bright boy with a knack for storytelling. One Saturday, he promised me he'd play outside for an hour. 30 minutes later, I peeked through the window. There he was, sprawled on the couch, eyes glued to his tablet, scrolling endlessly through a never-ending feed of memes, videos, and game clips. He looked up briefly, smiled, and went right back to it. I knew exactly what had happened. He'd been caught in the dopamine trap. You see, screens aren't just entertainment, they're engineered for obsession. Every ping, like, or in-game reward triggers a little jolt of dopamine, the brain's feel-good chemical. For adults, it's manageable. For teenagers, their prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for impulse control, is still under construction. It's like giving a toddler the keys to a sports car. Thrilling, but dangerous. Research confirms it. Adolescents who spend excessive time on screens tend to experience sleep disruption, attention deficits, and heightened anxiety. Their ability to focus on tasks without constant digital interruptions diminishes. But it's not all doom and gloom. It's biological wiring. Their brains are literally being pulled toward novelty, reward, and social validation. Parents often find themselves in a tug-of-war. You want to respect autonomy. After all, independence is part of growing up. But you also know the risks: reduced social skills, increased irritability, and the creeping fog of mental fatigue. The visual cues are everywhere. Scrolling fingers, yawns during homework, earbuds that block out the entire household. It's a silent struggle happening in millions of living rooms every day. The key, I've found, isn't to demonize screens. They're part of life now, but to understand the mechanics behind them. Teens aren't being rude or lazy. They're navigating a world designed to keep them hooked. Once you see it through that lens, setting boundaries stops feeling like a punishment and starts feeling like a strategy, guiding a young mind toward balance before habit becomes compulsion. And that's exactly what we'll explore next: how screen obsession impacts emotions and relationships, and why it's not just about the time spent. It's about the life experiences teens are missing while their eyes are glued to a glow. It's one thing to see a teenager glued to a screen at home. It's another to watch them drift away from real-life connection right in front of you. I remember attending a small birthday party once. The living room was filled with laughter, chatter, and the smell of pizza. Yet there was Emily, perched on the arm of the couch, scrolling through TikTok while the rest of the kids shared stories and played games. She wasn't rude. She was somewhere else entirely. Lost in a world curated by likes, followers, and viral trends. This is where the emotional weight hits hardest. Social media and games are not just entertaining, they create a constant, invisible pressure. Teens are constantly comparing themselves to everyone else: the perfect selfie, the friends' trips, the achievements flashed in a post. That's the social comparison trap, and it works like a slow psychological tide. Over time, it chips away at self-esteem, feeding anxiety, and in some cases, depression. Then there's FOMO, fear of missing out. You can see it in their restless thumbs, the quick glances at notifications, even the sudden mood swings if a friend posts without them. Cyberbullying and peer pressure add another layer. Disagreements or teasing online don't just vanish. They linger in a teen's mind long after the screen goes dark. And parents, we often underestimate just how emotionally real this digital world feels to them. To a teenager, a harsh comment online can feel worse than a scolding in real life. I've seen teens become irritable, withdrawn, and reluctant to share feelings offline. One boy, Max, was brilliant, charming even. But whenever family time came, he seemed miles away, eyes flicking to notifications. His parents assumed he was just being difficult. But really, he was carrying a digital weight they couldn't see. Constant judgment, validation seeking, and a flood of unprocessed emotions. Visual cues tell the story if you pay attention. Compare the laughter of teens joking in person with the hollow smiles at a phone screen. Notice how a shared meal is interrupted by scrolling thumbs, and how conversations often begin with, "Did you see what?" rather than genuine curiosity or connection. It's subtle, but the effects accumulate. Social skills, empathy, even the ability to sit quietly with another person without distraction. These are eroded by overexposure to screens. And yet, there's hope. Recognizing the emotional impact is the first step. Understanding that their attachment to devices isn't laziness or defiance, but a combination of natural adolescent brain development and social pressures, changes the way we approach the problem. This isn't about banning phones or tablets, it's about guiding teenagers to recognize the value of offline connections and helping them feel the satisfaction that comes from real-life interactions. Next, we'll explore the practical side. How to set boundaries without starting a full-blown war over screen time, and how teens can learn balance without feeling punished or controlled. Discipline. The word that makes parents groan and teens roll their eyes simultaneously. But here's the truth I've learned over decades. Managing screen time isn't about being a drill sergeant. It's about strategy, psychology, and a pinch of clever negotiation. You can't just confiscate devices without backlash. I've seen it play out like a bad drama. 1 minute you're setting limits, the next, you're negotiating like you're trying to broker world peace. Take Sophie, for instance. She loved her phone more than chocolate, and that's saying something. Her parents tried to ban it after 9 p.m., only to find her hiding it under the pillow and whispering to friends in group chats. The key wasn't punishment, it was structure. They created tech-free zones. Bedrooms became a sanctuary from screens, and the dinner table became a no-phone zone. At first, Sophie protested. But slowly, she started noticing things she'd been missing. The smell of freshly baked cookies, the sound of her younger brother laughing at something silly, even her own thoughts without constant interruption. Timers are another simple tool. It sounds almost ridiculous, but teens respond to visible boundaries. One family I know set a kitchen timer. Screen time was broken into manageable blocks. When the timer went off, the device went on its charging station outside the bedroom. Autonomy mattered. They had input on the schedule. It wasn't dictated, it was negotiated. And here's the psychological magic. Teens are far more likely to follow rules they feel they helped create. It's the illusion of freedom paired with gentle guidance. Modeling behavior is crucial too. I can't tell you how many times I've seen parents endlessly scrolling while lecturing teens about screen limits. Hypocrisy doesn't work. Kids notice. They mirror what they see. Family screen nights, where everyone, parents included, puts phones away for a movie or game, are surprisingly effective. They make rules feel less like punishment and more like shared practice. Small rewards can also work wonders, not as bribes, mind you, but as reinforcement. Extra screen time for completing homework or finishing chores isn't just about gadgets, it's about teaching delayed gratification. Teens get the satisfaction of earning privileges, which builds self-regulation skills they'll carry into adulthood. And yes, they will complain, they will groan, sulk, maybe even roll their eyes with Olympic-level skill. But that's normal. It's called growing up. They're testing boundaries, flexing independence, and discovering the consequences of choice. If we respond with patience, consistency, and a little humor, the negotiation becomes part of their learning, not a constant battlefield. By setting clear rules, modeling good habits, and gently guiding them toward balance, parents can turn screen time from a source of stress into a tool for growth. And in the next part, we'll see the payoff, how these boundaries transform habits, emotional well-being, and even friendships when teens finally step back from the digital haze. It's one thing to set boundaries and enforce rules, but the real magic happens when teens start to feel the difference themselves. I've watched kids who were once glued to screens slowly rediscover life beyond the glow of their devices. Take Alex, a quiet, thoughtful teen who spent hours gaming online. At first, he resisted any limits, grumbled at the timers, and rolled his eyes at tech-free zones. But over time, he began noticing things he hadn't before. The joy of riding his bike without checking his phone, laughing with friends in person instead of through memes, or simply savoring a quiet moment without a notification buzzing in his pocket. This is where the long-term benefits really shine. Teens who learn to balance screen time develop stronger self-regulation skills, which are the same skills that help them manage stress, focus on schoolwork, and navigate social situations with confidence. Their executive function, the brain's ability to plan, prioritize, and make decisions, strengthens. They become less impulsive, more patient, and better able to manage their emotions. Socially, the payoff is just as remarkable. Teens who step away from screens start engaging in richer, more meaningful interactions. I've seen kids who once ignored family dinners become the first to start conversations, laugh wholeheartedly, and even mediate sibling disagreements without rolling their eyes at another device. Friendships deepen too, because digital validation, likes, shares, comments, starts to feel less important than genuine connection. And let's not forget mental health. Sleep improves dramatically when devices aren't invading bedrooms. Anxiety and irritability decrease, mood swings stabilize, and teens start experiencing the world in a more grounded, present way. It's subtle at first, but once you notice it, it's impossible to unsee. Balance in screen use ripples outward, touching every part of life. Of course, this doesn't happen overnight. Balance is learned, not imposed. It's the small, consistent steps. Timers, tech-free zones, negotiated limits, family modeling that lay the foundation. And when teens internalize those habits, they carry them into adulthood, often with surprising gratitude. They understand the value of moderation, the importance of presence, and the satisfaction of self-control. Watching these transformations reminds me why it's worth the effort. Screens aren't the enemy, they're tools. But unchecked, they can dominate attention, emotion, and relationships. With guidance, empathy, and structure, parents can help their teens wield those tools wisely, stepping into the world confident, connected, and fully awake. In the conclusion, we'll tie it all together, reflect on the lessons, and leave you with actionable insights to reclaim balance in your own household. So, what have we learned? Screens aren't just gadgets. They're powerful, attention-hijacking tools that teens naturally gravitate toward. Understanding the psychology behind their obsession, recognizing the emotional and social impacts, and applying thoughtful, consistent strategies can make all the difference. From tech-free zones to timers, negotiated limits, and family modeling, balance is achievable, and the benefits are profound. Better sleep, improved focus, deeper friendships, and stronger self-regulation. I'd love to hear your experiences. What has worked in your home, or where you've struggled with screen limits? Share in the comments. I read them personally and often reply. If you found this helpful, please like, share, and subscribe for more insights and stories from someone who's seen it all. Together, we can navigate this digital age with a little humor, a lot of patience, and plenty of real connection.